Okay.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? Happy holidays. As we're nearing the end of the year, I just want to give a shout out to all of you. I took a very long break, but now I'm back. As I reminisce about the almost 4 years now that I've been in the Subaru scene, specifically owning my 2018 Subaru WRX, I just wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I've learned in the past 4 years, and maybe it'll help someone who's still on the fence about joining the Subaru scene. Maybe some of you guys who have already been in the Subaru scene for as long as I am, or even longer, will agree with me. But I kind of just wanted to reminisce and talk about some of the things I've learned, and just kind of reminisce about my wonderful time that I've had, being a part of this wonderful Subaru community. So these are the things that I've learned in the past 4 years. To start off with, don't come into the Subaru WRX and STI platform not expecting to modify this vehicle. I think this is the main appeal of this platform, and I kind of came about it the wrong way. When I first started and when I first came into the ownership of my WRX, I was very reluctant to modify my vehicle. But life is too short to live cautiously. Again, granted, this is just kind of me speaking out loud and from experience. Life is too short. Enjoy the vehicle, have fun, play with the car. Throw on some miles on it. Don't buy a WRX or a STI and treat it as a garage queen. Number two, the next one, get an Accessport. I've met a lot of folks who, especially newcomers, who don't know much about Subarus, and they come into the ownership of a WRX and STI and they apply what I call Honda logic. And no hate against Honda owners, because I used to be a previous Honda owner myself, but dropping in bolt-ons and expecting the ECU to learn and not having to tinker or tune the vehicle in any way is a very, very incorrect way of going about modifying Subarus. Subarus are very, very delicate, especially the WRX and STI, and you have to specifically tune the car with the type of parts that you're going to be installing. And now, fortunately for Subarus, WRXs and STIs, it's tried and true. There's a lot of formulas, various formulas, up to a certain point that people have done already, whether it's on forums or on Facebook groups. There's already a multitude of lists existing out there. There's also amazing tuners and locations where people have reached certain amount of horsepowers and thresholds. So ultimately, set a goal for yourself. And if you want to modify, I highly encourage you to start off with something as simple as the Cobb Accessport, because it will do you wonders. The next thing is, and I feel like this is more commonsensical, but if common sense was so common, it wouldn't be called common sense. Extra care and maintenance goes a long way, especially for Subarus. Granted, I think the pamphlet or whatever says to change the oil every 5,000 to 6,000 miles, but I highly recommend changing it every 3,000 to 4,000, especially if you're modified. It's just kind of like quality assurance and ensuring that your vehicle is operating on healthy fluids as opposed to gunky oil and whatnot. So that extra care and maintenance will definitely go a long way. In the 4 years of owning my 2018 Subaru WRX, I've religiously changed the oil. I've checked and maintained and upkeep my vehicle as best as I could, and washed things down so that way no rust, and then just checking fuel lines, etc., all the likes. And I've had absolutely no issues with my vehicle. So I've met a lot of other folks who have had a lot of troubles with their vehicle, and I'm not sure whether it's just their luck. Maybe they've gotten a lemon, but ultimately for me, I've never had any issues with my vehicle, and I love it to death. Moving on to the next thing is, this is very, very important, is that the novelty will eventually end. So my advice to you guys is to enjoy your time enjoy the platform, modify it, and just ultimately have fun with the vehicle. I've met many people who went ham right out the gate, bought a bunch of stuff, tagged onto the vehicle, and they hit a plateau a lot sooner than most of the rest of us. And so eventually the fun dies out. They hit that plateau and they want something better. They want something faster and whatnot. So enjoy your time, because the novelty will eventually end. Now, as for me, I'm still riding on my novelty. I've owned my car for 4 years, and I still love it to death. I still love the community. I still love each and every time I get into my vehicle, and I took my time. I think the first year and a half or so, I kept my car completely stock engine-wise, and I just focused primarily on aesthetics, and eventually I moved on to power. So, of course, there are some milestones and goals that I have in the near future, but for now, like I said, I'm still enjoying the novelty of owning my vehicle, because I always kind of bring myself back to a humble place where there was a time when I didn't own this vehicle and I didn't have it, and I was drooling and eyeing over it. And so I kind of bring myself back to that point and remind myself how fortunate I am to be able to have this vehicle, to be able to be a part of the community, and to be able to share content with you guys. Another thing that I want to talk about is that the WRX versus the STI conversation is extremely toxic, and so I hate it. I hate it so much, because unfortunately the V8 chassis and as a whole, the WRX and the STI, exterior wise, they don't look any different. They look very similar, except for the big brake kit and the STI trunk and whatnot. So what I want to share with you is, what is your end game? If you want a good daily driver, get a WRX. If you want a track vehicle and you want to spend the STI money, get the STI. But better is very subjective in this case, and so both of these cars have two very different engines and very different feel. And I've worked on both, countless times, and hands down, I could say that I've never regretted owning my WRX. I've had STI envy here and there, but more aesthetically, like the big brake kit, the STI transmission, but not necessarily the motor. And overall, Subaru motors are very delicate, and so you push it too much and it'll explode. So stay away from the WRX versus the STI debate. It's just very, very toxic as a whole. The next point I want to talk about is the Subaru WRX and STI platform will teach you a lot about car modifications, a lot about wrenching, and a lot about maintenance, and everything as a whole about cars. This car and this platform, I think, is very, very user friendly, and so if you're a beginner, it's going to teach you a lot about cars, and so you're going to move on to, if you decide to move on to bigger and better things, this will be kind of your foundation of like tinkering and your trial and error, and learning and understanding what your limitations are and what you're good at and what you're not good at. As for me, I've learned that I'm extremely horrible at electrical wiring, technology related stuff pertaining to vehicles. However, when it comes to old school wrenching, I'm really good at all that stuff. The next thing is that the Subaru community is very unique and different from the other car communities. I feel like it's very, very diverse, and there's various subgroups, but for the most part, everyone is very, very kind and caring. And so coming out of the Honda scene, Honda and Toyota is extremely toxic. But again, I haven't really been exposed to a lot of other communities, but just kind of speaking as a whole from my experience, that I love the Subaru community. That's why hence I became, an ambassador, and I rock this brand, full-heartedly. And the last thing I kind of want to part ways with for you guys is that most people who leave the WRX and STI scene generally speak very fondly of their time of owning their WRX or STI, and for the most part, many of them actually return back to the ownership of it years later. So I kind of want to leave you guys with that, the things that I've learned in the past 4 years. So I hope you guys like this video. What are your thoughts? If you guys have anything that you guys think I missed, comment down below in the description box. In the comments, sorry. And I will see you guys again. But happy holidays. Hope you guys have